everyone, welcome back to my channel. So in this video, I wanted to share with you some of the books that I really want to reread. Now, I love rereading books. There are a handful of books that I have reread multiple times because I love rereading books so much, but I also have a handful of books that I absolutely adore that I have never reread that I really want to reread. So I thought it would be fun to share those books with you in this video. And this also shouldn't come at any surprise, but most of these are series. Actually, all of these are series except for, no, they're all series. So the first series should come at no surprise, and that is the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I adore this series. We just got the final book a few months ago. I think it came out, was it November of 2018. So that was Kingdom of Ash, so it's very fresh on my mind, and I kind of just want to go back and reread the series and just marathon it. So much happens between the first book, Throne of Glass, to the last book, Kingdom of Ash. It's just, there's tremendous world building, tremendous character development. We get introduced to new characters. It's just, each book gets better and better and better, and I kind of want to go back and reread, especially the first one, and just see how small the world is compared to Kingdom of Ash. I probably won't reread this for a little while just because it's going to be very time consuming to do that because these books are quite chunky, but it is definitely on my radar to reread the entire Throne of Glass series. The next book is in a series, but I only want to read the first one, and that is The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue by Mackenzie Lee. I just recently read Ladies' Guide to Petticoats and Piracy. It was our Muggle Studies book club pick for January, and after reading the Ladies' Guide, I really want to go back and reread The Gentleman's Guide because of all of the shenanigans that happened in The Gentleman's Guide. We kind of get a little bit of she kind of like recaps a little bit on some of the things that happened in the Ladies' Guide, but I want to be back in Monty's point of view. Even though I really adored being in Felicity's point of view in the Ladies' Guide, I enjoyed, I think, The Gentleman's Guide a little bit more. It was a little more lighthearted. The romance was really fun and cute, and just Monty is just such a interesting and unique character. He just gets himself into just crazy situations. Next, I have another full series that I want to read, and that is the Leviathan Trilogy by Scott Westerfeld. This is one of my favorite series. So before I read Throne of Glass and the ACOTAR series, the Leviathan series was my favorite series after Harry Potter, and now it's Sarah J. Maas series. So this would be, I guess, my fourth favorite series after Harry Potter and Throne of Glass and ACOTAR. I adore this series. I got Kevin to just recently listen to it on audiobook, and he really liked it, and now it's making me want to really go back and read it. What's just really cool about this series is that it is historical fiction based on World War I events, but it's very steampunk and it's just so good. So we're following two characters' point of view. We're following Darren, who is pretending to be a boy so that she can join the British Air Force, and then we follow Alec, who is Prince of, I forget, I think it's Hungary. I think he's the Prince of Hungary, and he had to flee his country because of the war, and then Alec and Darren cross paths and they become allies, and then they end up becoming really good friends, and the story is so good. Also, there are a lot of really cool pictures in this story. I loved reading it and having all of the different illustrations. So I really want to go back and reread it because I've only read it once, and I marathoned the entire series in just a couple of days, and I haven't reread it since. Even though it is one of my favorite series, I need to get back and reread this series really soon. The next series I have is The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodkin. I adored this series so much. The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer is probably one of my favorite books. I read this book in just one sitting. I marathoned it the entire night. I think I started at like 8 p.m. and I finished it at like 5 a.m. or something like that, but I couldn't put it down the second I started it. It's just so creepy and eerie, and it's just very interesting. We follow our main character Mara, and she is suffering from severe PTSD from a tragedy that happened that killed her best friend, and she is trying to deal with this PTSD. But what's so interesting is that this is set in first person point of view, so we see what Mara is seeing, so we don't know what is real, what is not real, if she's seeing things. Nothing is clear, and it's just such a great series. I will say though, the third one was a little bit disappointing, a little bit of a letdown. I didn't think that it resolved very well, but there is a spin-off series to The Unbecoming of Mara Dara, which is The Becoming of Noah Shaw, and I do actually have the first one, which is called The Becoming of Noah Shaw, and I want to pick it up, but I think I may reread this series first before I pick up the spin-off series, just to refresh the story, because so much happens that I feel like if I start The Becoming of Noah Shaw, I'm gonna be so confused. I know that I can just fly through this because I adored the first one. The second one was also really good. The third one was okay, but I still really want to reread this series. The next series is a bit of a daunting task, so I don't know, it's kind of lower on my to reread list, but that is The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I really love The Lord of the Rings. It's one of my favorite stories. I absolutely adore the movies. I rewatch them numerous times, but I've only read this story once because this is a bind up of all three of them, but it's big, massive book, and it's a little intimidating to reread the series. There's just so much world building. I will say this though, I feel like if I reread this, it may go a little bit quicker because I already understand the world and I know the characters, even though there's a lot omitted in the movies. I know that. I'm hoping that I can get through this quicker rereading it, because I am so familiar with the story, but I am still kind of intimidated to reread it, which is why it's kind of lower on my to reread list, but I definitely do want to reread it. Next, I have the first and second book of a series, and that is Stalking Jack the Ripper and Hunting Prince Dracula by Carrie Maniscalco. So I recently read Escaping from Houdini back in October, I believe, September, October. I will say I wasn't blown away with it like I was the first two books, and it is a series, I do believe. I think that there is another book coming out after Escaping from Houdini, and I kind of want to go back and reread these two because I adored Stalking Jack the Ripper so much, and same with Hunting Prince Dracula. The characters are so great, the story is awesome, there's such great banter, and Carrie Maniscalco's writing is just so fantastic. I love how she addresses really important issues, and it's really good. So basically in this story we follow our main character Audrey Rose, and this is set in the 1700s, or 1800s, I'm sorry. This is set in the 1800s, and you know, at that time, women are expected to go to tea parties and learn how to, you know, embroider and stuff like that, and get married, but instead she wants to study forensic medicine. And when a series of gruesome murders start happening in London, she interns for her uncle and does autopsies on these murders to figure out who the murderer is. And it's really good. And the last series that I want to reread is the Illuminae Files by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. I will say I have already reread Obsidio, so technically I want to reread Illuminae and Gemina, but I'm gonna reread Obsidio as well. It's just such a cool story. It's written in such a unique format with video diagrams and emails and different types of schematics and journal entries, and it's a really cool science fiction story, and I adored it. Obsidio was my favorite. Actually, you know what? I think Gemina was my favorite, and I think I want to reread it on audiobook. I physically read the series the first time, and my reread of Obsidio was on audiobook, and it was so fantastic that I want to go back and get the experience of listening to the audiobook for Illuminae and Gemina. Alright guys, well that is it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Let me know some of the books that you think are worthy to be reread, and I will see you next time in another video. Bye!